and Bill Cox. And I'm just gonna hand it over to y'all, and y'all take it away.
You guys are the best. Let me just start with that, because we do meet and greets all over the city, and I always say you have no idea what you have on this side, but you do. It's a great place to live. You guys get out, you walk the neighborhood, you meet your neighbors, you actually have a sense of community down here, you take care of each other, and that's kind of the spirit of what we try to carry throughout the entire city of McKinney. And I appreciate you guys for being the example of what a good neighbor looks like. I've had the pleasure of serving as the District 3 representative for the past 4 years. We did this whole thing 4 years ago, but it looked a lot different because people were wearing masks even outside. So I'm glad to be out and be able to see everyone's smiling faces, and I appreciate your time. I am not going to take too much time because I'd rather hear more from you than to just talk. But we have done a lot of work in the last 4 years to try to move the city, keep it moving in a positive direction. We've worked, I know that property taxes are always a thing and appraisal values have gone up a lot, but we have dropped the property tax rate every year to try to help with that. We've also increased the homestead exemptions for the seniors. I have been working with Betty and a lot of the other folks on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board to make sure that we put the protections in place long term, long after this council is unseated, that keep it just like this. We want to preserve all that we can. We want to give people the opportunity to come and renovate and restore it to its heyday. We don't want to see structures torn down without the input of the city, right? Without the input of the residents here. And so we've been working really closely with city staff to try to implement some policies and procedures, and we are this close to getting a certified local government designation.
Thank you. You're working on that for how long, Gere?
A couple of years. Yes. So the certified local government gives us a designation that just adds additional protections for us. It makes us eligible for grant funding. It gives us tools so that we can create ordinances that really do add protection, and just adds more authority from the HPAB and the city in terms of enforcing design standards and things like that. We don't want to see a house get torn down that looks as beautiful as this, and something that looks like it belongs on the west side comes in and moves in, right? And we've seen a little bit of that. And so that actually was part of the triggers for us to say we've got to do something that no matter who is sitting on council, these things are in place to keep the protection. Because what I don't want you guys to feel like you're doing is having to fight to keep your homes looking like this, right? It should not be a difficult uphill battle all the time to maintain the fabric of this district. So we've really worked hard to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. And we're going to keep fighting for that. I mean, there's a lot more that's going to come from this designation, and we really look forward to working with staff and working with the Historic Preservation Board to make sure we do the right thing by this community. Obviously the programming downtown, I think it's just gotten better and better. Yeah, it gets better and better. So much better that we get a lot of foot traffic now. We get a lot of car traffic as well. And that's not all bad, but we want to make sure that you guys are not, carrying the burdens of that all the time. So when we're talking about parking, for instance, we're looking at one side only parking, right? So to relieve some of the congestion that's kind of coming through the streets when we have big events. But I'm always here to listen. We've got a lot more coming up. We're working on infrastructure. We know it's a problem. We know we have aging roads. Justin is here somewhere. He left already. Okay. But when we came on to council, we got a report about the condition of our roads, and it was not good. And we found out we really were not allocating enough funding for road maintenance, and so we are doing that now. We've found ways to allocate more from the general fund. You all voted for a bond. Thank you so much, because that makes our job a little easier. But we're also taking sales tax dollars. So all of your tourists that are coming down to the square are now contributing to road maintenance, because we're taking funding from the Economic Development Corporation and the Community Development Corporation, and that helps us to fund road repairs. We're going to be we're started very east, and we're moving towards the west side, and we're going to keep working to make sure that we address the infrastructure. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight like I like it to happen, so we ask for your patience as we're kind of doing that. And if you have any issues, whether it be with roads or with sidewalks, which is another big lift, please call us. We have a very responsive staff, you know. So, yes.
Dr. Feltus, I have a cousin that's from Highland Park. And the problem they went into, which you probably remember, you've been here a long time, is some of the beautiful homes in Highland Park got torn down because they were termite infested. They had to be turned down. But instead of replacing it with something, shall we say, that fit into the neighborhood, Selman built, like I call it Frank Lloyd Wright, you know, very architectural, modern, pretty plain, house looks like should belong to the Jetsons or something.
Yes.
I'm telling my age, the Jetsons. But, you know, it doesn't fit into the neighborhood.
Right.
But Highland Park drug their feet, or University Park, I'm not sure which is which down there. But they didn't address the problem when it first started, and so then they couldn't stop it. And so now it's a mess.
Yes.
And I'm glad McKinney's addressing it before we end up with Frank Lloyd Wright. next
Right,
door.
no, that's the whole point of having this designation and having members of your community serving on the Historic Preservation Board. I will tell you, when I came on to the council, there was one home in particular that kind of was disregarding our rules and in all honesty, you need a council that's going to say, we're going to come down hard on you. We're not going to let this happen. If you do it, there are some repercussions for that, right? And we'll do everything we can to work to get it better, but we have to maintain this. There's a reason you bought houses down here, right? And so we recognize that. We want to protect it too. So this will help to give us those long-term protections.
Well, it's good to start. You can't just like putting your finger in the dime. Once it steps, you
Yeah,
can't
it's tough to
stop
go
it.
back. Yeah.
And then the other issue that Highland Park did not address, which I'm glad McKinney is doing, is about architectural compliance.
Yep.
I guess you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a problem because once it starts, it's hard to.
It is hard.
back up.
It
Things
is
go
hard.
slow.
And we've lost a little bit of control at the local level. Unfortunately, some years ago, at the state level, they kind of removed a lot of the control that cities had in terms of design standards, right? And so we have had to be careful about, you know, what we say. We've had some restrictions in terms of what we can enforce, but once again, you know, having these design standards in the historic district, I think, will be very helpful for us.
Because I would hate to see that. I mean, I live in a cookie cutter DR Horton house on the other side.
Yeah.
But I would hate to see.
Yeah, this
Down
is beautiful.
here,
This is
get
why we all
messed up.
moved here, right? Like this is part of
If I could have
the
afforded
historic
to, I
district
would
is why I moved to
down
McKinney,
here.
right?
There was a beautiful old house in '98 for sale down here, and I thought it was kind of reasonable. I forgot it was a historic $400,000, and that was like in '98. I'm like, well, I guess I was moving to downtown McKinney. You know, I would be moving to a DR Horton house. I would not be moving to downtown McKinney, but it was a gorgeous house.
Beautiful.
And people lived in it. I mean, fortunately, it did not turn into a law. I was a lawyer, a law office. It stayed a person's house.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this whole city is a beautiful city.
Yeah.
I live on the west side. I'm envious of you guys, but I live on the west side, and I still love it on the west side. You know, so. But we are going to keep focusing on making sure we do what we need to do in terms of the infrastructure. My other priority is always public safety. I had the pleasure of serving on the Chiefs Advisory Council before coming onto City Council. Kind of got an inside look on some of the struggles in terms of recruiting police officers to the force, and that is a nationwide issue. So I'm working right now with the Fraternal Order Police and city staff to really evaluate our benefits package, actually, because as we are going through trying to recruit different officers,
Pretty well paid.
they're very well paid, but so is Frisco's, and so is Allen's, and so is Plano's,
I came
right?
from Allen in '96.
So we have to be very careful about making sure we stay competitive. And in my view, part of that is a lot of these police officers are making lateral moves, coming from one department to the other. And so what are we offering so that they have that incentive to retire with us, right? And stay with us long term. So we're looking